Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shiguranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Samandana, Chapter 54. Krishna marries Rukmini, text 21 and 22. Ityuktva ratan aruhya Sarathim prahasattvara Chodajashvam jata Krishnam Tasyame sayugam babet Ityuktva ratan aruhya Saratim prahasatvara Kodajashvanjata Krishna Tasyame samyugam bhavet Ityuktva ratan aruhya Saratim prahasatvara Chotajashvanjata Krishna Tasyame samyugam bhavet. Please chant. Ityuktva ratanaruhya Saratim prahasatvara Chodajashvanjata Krishna Tasyame samyugam bhavet Ityuktva ratanaruhya Saratim prahasatvara Chodajashvanjata Krishna Tasyame samyugam bhavet iti. Thus, uktva, speaking, Ratham, on his chariot, aruhya, climbing, sarathing, to his driver, praha, said, satvaraha, quickly, chotaya, drive, ashram, the horses, jataha, to where, krishnaha, Krishna, tasya, his, me, with me, samyugam, fight, bhavet, must be. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Having said this, he has mounted his chariot and told his charioteer, quote, drive the horses quickly to where Krishna is. He and I must fight. Text 52. Adyahan nishitai vanair gopalasya shuddurmate neshye vidya madamjena swasamen prasabam hirita. This wicked-minded cowherd boy, infatuated with his prowess, he has violently abducted my sister, but today I will remove his pride with my sharp arrows. Purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sridhar Swami explains, Gopalasya actually means, quote, of the protector of the Vedas, end of quote. While Durmate means, quote, of him whose beautiful mind is compassionate even towards the wicked, end of quote. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that the real meaning of what Rukmi said is that today, fighting with Lord Krishna, Rukmi will relieve himself of his pretensions to be a great hero. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitangena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami Iti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyade Shatarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So here's Rukmi beating on his chest, speaking to a whole group of people, especially his warriors. We have heard already that all the kings that survived the onslaught of battling the Yadava army have left completely defeated to their kingdoms, including Jarasandha and Shishupal. Jarasandha had to preach to Shishupal. We heard that, in the narrations of this chapter. All these very, very arrogant, proud personalities, demons, who are being thoroughly defeated. Jarasandha's message, and mind, these are people that are well-trained and quite knowledgeable. Because they're kings, kings, Vedic kings. So, in Vedic culture, naturally, the education at that time, at the time of Vedic culture, was thoroughly based on the transcendental knowledge of the Vedas. So they were well educated, they understood the presence of controllers in the universe. They understood how the universe is managed. But just see how powerful the delusion that comes, with the desire to actually become the controller of material nature. That even with that education that they have, they become completely bewildered and covered. And actually take up the position that they are the controllers. And with that delusion comes this sense of arrogance, that they are the greatest, they are powerful, they get basically infatuated with the opulence that they have. Opulence, to do with wealth, with influence, with power, with strength. So, like that, under that delusion, they think that they're supreme. This is the idea. It's described in the Bhagavad Gita, the character of these demons. Ishwaraham Maham Bhogi. This is the how you say, the sutra of, or the vision and the whole identity of a demon, of demoniac mentality. Ishwaraham Aham Bhogi. I am the supreme controller and I am the enjoyer. So we see Jarasandha preaching to Shishupal. We heard that. He started by saying there's a supreme controller. The supreme controller organizes everything. So, we're helpless under the control of the supreme. Basically, today they're victorious, tomorrow it may be our day. So we have to basically keep doing our thing, don't give up, that one day you'll be victorious. Like right now, Krishna is victorious. Tomorrow, you may be victorious. You'll see. Just like me. He defeated me 17 times, but at the end I won. I was able to defeat him one time. I went with 23 Akshohinis, and he destroyed the whole thing. He destroyed all the 23 Akshohinis. But at the end, I won. So, go to your home like that. Anyway, so they have an understanding, but they still can give up their pride. That is the strength of delusion. Mayaya aprahita jnana. The intelligence is taken by delusion. And therefore they become Narhadama, the lowest amongst mankind. So Shishupal also went home. All of, downcrest, and crestfallen, and completely depressed, because he was very attached to the idea of Rukmini being his queen. So he went, everybody went, but this fellow, Rukmini, he couldn't take it. He couldn't take it. And also, yesterday we heard how he, in the spite of seeing the whole situation, just witnessed it. How even with a smaller army, just a small army of the Yadavas, headed by Lord Balaram, destroyed all these kings, powerful kings. He still thinks that him, with his one Akshohini, can defeat Krishna. So in that haste, being driven by anger, by arrogance, then he went to fight Krishna. And at the end, it's quite something to observe and to read about the pretensions that are there of personalities that are overcome by delusion. Because in the bottom of their heart, when you're pretending something, you know that you're pretending. It's not that you fully believe, but you know that you're pretending. It's almost that when you take the display, then yes, you are naked with your truth. That is not what you're presenting. It's a pretension. You're pretending to be something that you're not. But it's so, the psychology of this whole thing of pretending to be something that we're not, it can be so strong that you yourself convince yourself that you're that. That's what is called delusion. That's how the whole thing comes. You yourself, even though understanding that you're not, you convince yourself. And you start to act the part. And the part have to come with all the, arrogance and this type of thing. But it's quite something when you're almost it's almost like you're taking by the pretension itself that you are forced to act in such a way that you're going to be basically exposed. Because it always works like that. The arrogance makes you bold, and you also makes you confident. So that overconfidence makes you make these grave mistakes that at the end is going to expose you. And once you're exposed, everything, then you're there just with who you are. You know, that is definitely very far from what you were presenting yourself that you were, and convincing people that you were. So in the case of Rukmi, he is pretending to be a great hero, a powerful hero who is going to what all the kings, powerful kings, failed to do, he was going to do. And not only that, he was so sure of himself that he declares that he will give up everything, if he doesn't accomplish this. That's what he's going to, defeat Krishna and defeat the Yadavas and bring Rukmini back. So that is the nature of this delusion. Overconfidence, arrogance, that will basically just like a moth, flying into the fire, just going for basically destroying all your pretensions and delusions. So there is something quite wonderful when we read the purpose of the Acharyas, that every time, in this case also, when these demons start to throw this insult at Krishna, speak all these terrible, insulting words towards Krishna, the Vaishnavacharyas read those same insults as glorification. And so when this Rukmi says as he's riding on his chariot, screaming at his army and the people around him, "This wicked-minded cowherd boy!" So he called Krishna Gopalasya. So when he utters these words, his heart and his being is screaming, "Wicked-minded cowherd boy." But the Vaishnavacharyas hear the same Gopalasya, and the meaning of these words is the protector of the Vedas. So then his fellow is screaming, "Here, the protector of the Vedas!" Like that. So it's like, oh, nice glorification. And when he says, "Durmatahe," that means that he's infatuated by his powers. Durma, that means that, Durma means wicked. Durma means wicked. So he's calling Krishna wicked. But this Durmatahe, the Vaishnavacharyas here, him whose beautiful mind is compassionate even towards the wicked. Like that also, when later we're going to hear Krishna dealing with Shishupal, and Shishupal in the middle of this great sacrifice, Rajasuya sacrifice, he insulted Krishna 100 times. And all the 100 insults were 100 glorifications of Krishna. Similarly. So, it's very wonderful. Well, one of the things it says about the quality of the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnava sometimes is described as Paramahamsa, the supreme swan-like personality, because it is explained that this swan apparently have this quality that if you give the swan milk mixed with water, the swan is able to separate the milk from the water somehow or other. So he's able to subtract the milk and reject the water. So the swan is able, this Paramahansa devotee is able to always take the essence, to take, the positive, the beautiful thing, the nourishing thing. So the Paramahansa devotees always can see that everything in this world is meant for Krishna's glorification. Everything. There was an instance in which, in the pastimes of Srila Ramanujacharya, the Sri Sampradaya, there is a description of this great personality. Well, several of the followers of Srila Ramanujacharya, one is, his name was Parashara Bhatt, and another was Ananta Acharya. Parashara Bhatt was one of the Vaishnava leaders in Tirupati. No, in Tirupati, yes, in Tirupati in Sri Rangam. And one time, one devotee asked Parashara Bhatt, "Sir, can you please tell me about what are the qualities of a Vaishnava?" And Parashara Bhatt said, "It's a very good, nice question, but my instruction to you is that you go to Tirupati and take shelter of Anantacharya and you ask him that question." So this devotee went all the way to Tirupati. Anantacharya was a great follower of Srila Ramanujacharya, and he was famous for maintaining this beautiful garden in which, actually Lord Balaji in Tirupati is one of the great opulence of the offerings that are made there of the many. I mean, it's a great opulence. But one of the beautiful opulence is the garland of flowers that is offered to the Lord. And so Anantacharya was, the maintainer of that beautiful garden. And anyway, there's amazing narrations of how the exchanges that they have with Lord Balaji. Even sometimes he threw some sort of a digging instrument towards Lord Balaji because he thought he was stealing the flowers. So, anyway, another pastime. But here comes this devotee, and he asks Anandacharya, "Sir, my spiritual master asked me to come and to you and place this question: what are the qualities of the Vaishnava?" And Anantacharya just ignored him. He didn't even pay attention to the fellow, to the devotee. So the devotee was confused and taken back. So he was trying to understand why Anantacharya was not answering him, ignoring him. He thought, oh, maybe I don't have the right mentality to understand the things. Maybe Anantacharya is seeing this. Maybe I didn't ask the question properly. Maybe I'm asking the question with some arrogance. Maybe I should do service. So he was trying to explain himself. So he remained there in Tirupati doing service. And some time passed, and there was one big festival, and then he was sitting there, and Anantacharya says, serve the devotees. And then this devotee immediately, very enthusiastically, went on and served all the devotees until everybody was satisfied. And then when he finished, Anantacharya called him and said, come, I will tell you what is the answer to your question. And he says, a devotee, a Vaishnava, is like a crane, is like a hen, is like a salt, and is like you. You may go. So this devotee was very grateful for the answer, but he was very confused. So he couldn't understand. So he went back, and then he asked Parashurabhat. I went, and then Anantacharya finally told me this, but I don't understand. So what is the meaning of this? A crane, a hen, salt, and me. So Parashurabhat immediately he understood. So he explained, well, a crane is this type of bird that his color is white because it represents the purity of the heart of the Vaishnava. But this bird also stands in one leg, very, very, very still. And then as he stands in the waters, in one leg, very still, he sees many fish flowing around. And all the small fish, he doesn't mind about it. But when a big fish comes, he is able to capture. So he waits very patiently for the big fish. He doesn't pay attention to the small fish. So that means that the Vaishnava has that type of character. He doesn't, the Vaishnava doesn't care about the small fish, mundane things. It's like the mundane talks. All these expressions that are materialistic, mundane type of talks, village talk. But when he sees the big fish that represents the saintly persons who glorify Krishna, then that he captures. He goes for it. So that's the crane. And the hen is this bird that can climb a whole mountain of rubbish. And within this mountain of rubbish, this creature can find the grain to feed himself. So he searches for the nourishment, even in a mountain of rubbish. You always find it. So the Vaishnava sees that is able to find nourishment even in in a mountain of rubbish. These materialistic societies and the materialistic world is full with temporary things that basically, from the perspective of the transcendentalist, is unwanted things. But he's able to find transcendence even in that pile of rubbish. And salt, the Vaishnava, the salt has this quality that in very tasty preparations of cooking, the salt basically is what brings the whole flavor and put everything together, for the preparation. But the salt always remains very much in the background. When people is praising the cooking of someone, he say, "Oh, very nice spicy. Oh, very nice vegetables. Oh, very nice flavors. Very nice." There's so many very nice, but no one says very nice salt. Or no one, the salt always remains in the background. So similarly, the Vaishnava is like that. He says the Vaishnava does all this in the background, all this welfare, benefit everybody, bringing up everybody. But the Vaishnava may remain in the background. So even non-recognized by anyone, how they've been benefited by the Vaishnavas, and still is there. Unlike you, because you're serving all the devotees. So, saying all this is this quality of the Vaishnava to see everything and being able to see transcendence in everything. So, in the case that we're reading today, and it is wonderful to read, is how words comes from a demon, and they actually able to take those same words, and those same words becomes transcendence, becomes kirtan, glorification of Krishna. These are words of glorifying Krishna, which is, kirtan. So how everything can be utilized by that, by Vaishnavas. The power of words, in one sense, words are sound vibrations that is part of the qualities of the human body, the human society has, that is given, that you're able through the sound vibration being able to express and communicate your ideas, your feelings, your process, everything. You're able to communicate. It's a sound vibration. And as a sound vibration, then, the form of a sound vibration is within all the material elements. So it's a material manifestation of some type of energy. So you take that, and that in itself, like every single manifestation of energy, material energy, is Krishna's, and is meant for Krishna's glorification. And that's what everything. So the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee, a demon, is a devotee understands that everything is meant for Krishna's glorification. So when we take words, the words are manifestation, material energy, and you put words together and you make an expression. You make, you can communicate something. So the putting of these words together, then it creates these expressions that, according to the person that is, according to the heart of the person that is using those words, then it have a particular meaning. But that word also can have a different meaning according to the heart of the devotees. And we see that, sometimes we see that even in the material world, we see how there are certain people that specialize in understanding how to manipulate words to fulfill a particular, goal. We see that in law. It's basically you see the importance of words to establish law and order. So then, to establish some law and order, you have to communicate these different regulations for people. So then you make law books, you make legislation. And those who are making legislation have to think very carefully how to communicate that. Because the clear the communication of that legislation is, then it's going to be more difficult to find other meanings. And I was reading, there's this there's one of these examples, that explains that in law, that there was this case that came to the Supreme Court, in which there's a particular amendment in the Constitution that explains that the government can actually take possession of your property in order to create something that will benefit the society at large. And they were doing this in the case they need to make a highway or a bridge or something like that. Suppose, you have a property and it happens that, you're creating a road or a bridge that passes through your property, but this road is going to facilitate the whole population. So the government can take this property from you, and of course they have to give you a fair price for that, but the government can claim this property. So there's an amendment for that. And the way the makers of the law, they wrote that they say they use the word public use. Public use. So although it was very specific for the use of for building some particular facilities for the public to be used, in terms of a road or bridges or things like that, then they put the word public use, which explained it, but then there was this situation in which a particular town took the land of this person to give it to some contractor to create a big mall and a building with, a whole hotels and health clubs and the whole thing, casino and this, a whole complex. For a contractor, for a public, a public person, not for some private person, not for the public. So this case went into the Supreme Court. And the case of the town was for the public benefit. And this man, how is it for the public benefit when this for a private person? You're not building some, the state is not building, a library or I don't know, a bridge or something like that. So the case that was made was, the public, for the public benefit means that we're going to get more taxes, and from the more taxes, then we get benefit for the whole population. So that's how these words, you can actually take it this way or take it that way. So, for the Vaishnava is something similar to, and the use of these words, he can see and read in such a way that the Vaishnava can see the essence. All these words, they can actually be used to glorify Krishna. And they find, that meaning in those words. So at the end, it just struck me how everything can be used for Krishna's glorification. And everything, all these words that sometimes are offensive, or it's words that are offensive, a Vaishnava will find words that by find means that these things becomes, actually ways of glorifying Krishna. So, was a little thought about that. It was trying to be creative, in a limited subject matter. Any thoughts or comments on things?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I just had one comment about the thing you were mentioning about how we use words and how in law they are very careful what words they should use, what words they should not use. This book that I am reading is called Tact in Court. Tact in Court. It talks about lawyers, but also in general how our words, we should be careful how we should frame our words. And sometimes when big companies give their products to celebrities, they also make sure when they are giving the product, if they are giving a car, Toyota is giving a car to this celebrity, they will write a legal clause that this car will only be used by this celebrity and it should not be given to someone else for profit, so that their brand is well known to everyone. So I was thinking that, when sometimes devotees donate books to the libraries of Prabhupada, sometimes when if the book is not in demand, the library sells those books and they make money out of it, and it's sometimes hurtful to the person who is donating it. So some legal clause can also be that this donation should only be there for library use and not something else. So it just made me remind of how words are very important and how we should bring them. Just a comment to what you were saying.
Yes. We have to be very thoughtful always. Not only that's part of the lessons that we're learning. Like yesterday, Krishna Archana was speaking about being forced to act or to say or to use, material energies in some way when we're motivated by anger or by arrogance or by different motivations, like that. So we have to step back. So always the whole thing for us to learn is how to function in the mode of goodness, which is always, you always step back. You don't allow yourself to react, but you always take a step back and think before acting. So the uses of words is like that. But the great thing for the Vaishnavas is that regardless, it's there. They can take anything and makes it into a Krishna glorification. They have that capacity. We don't have that capacity.
It requires a lot of intelligence.
Yes, we have to think. We have to step back and be very careful. A Vaishnava can take the scream of some crazy person forced by their anger, screaming, "Wicked!" and they're hearing, "Beautiful mind who is compassionate towards the wicked." The same word. So a Vaishnava is always so positive and so enlightened and so like, "Oh, my Lord is being glorified." But we don't have that capacity, and we saw that, when we hear the pastime of Krishna killing Shishupal. There is Shishupal insulting Krishna, and everybody was like, and Krishna was very peaceful. He's not taking anything, and they were holding Bhima, was ready to smash the guy, and Arjuna, everybody was very upset. So, So for us, it's always you step back. For the Vaishnava, it's just very wonderful to see how they can take that, into something else. They can always do the right thing. They have that capacity. Thank you.
When words are spoken by someone, say like in this case, Rukmi, that he's calling Krishna wicked, or wicked-minded coward boy, I think was the expression. The truth of the matter is that what somebody says is really a reflection on themselves and their own thinking. It's got very little to do with whatever they're attempting to throw and label somebody else with, meaning those words. It really actually is just a reflection of their own internal state. So it would be correct for the Vaishnavas to continue to see Krishna in exactly the right way. It's not going to, clearly it's not going to affect anything at all. Because they see in a particular way. So always, how one expresses has to do with one's own internal state. It's not really a reflection. Well, I mean, of course, the Vaishnavas' statements of Krishna do reflect the reality because they're in that pure-hearted state, but generally in an impure-hearted state, whatever one says is just a reflection of one's own impure heart.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. It's part of the symptoms of conditioning and being afflicted by all these things, that one is so tuned to this reality that's what you go for. It's like the fly against the bee, type of, or the swan and the crow, that type of mentality, that type of consciousness that we have. That's what we focus on. A fly goes to filthy things, on clean things. And the bee goes for honey, for flowers, for beautiful things. So it's the particular consciousness, or reflection of our consciousness that we see. We're trying to find filth. We're trying to, find that. And it's funny, when you were saying that, I was thinking too that, there is this person who is itself contaminated, and then he sees everything contaminated. He sees contamination. He doesn't see the contamination. He's not aware of the contamination in his own self, but he sees contamination externally. And then he declares it. And once he declares it, loud, very loud, and when you want to express, your expressions against whatever this contamination that is there, then you want others to join you. So immediately you have a whole group that gets animated by these expressions, meaning that also is ringing or reflecting on this very same thing. And in general, these expressions of animations for sure touches if one is that unwanted thing is within our heart, then that thing is going to be animated. So, if within your heart there is, suppose, those who were inimical to Krishna in some way, envious of Krishna, and in one sense, that's everybody who comes down to the material world have some envy of Krishna. So, is there presence of all conditioned souls? Icha dvesha samutena. So this desire and hate towards Krishna is there, is the original thing. So when that gets triggered, then one may force to react and join the crazy, fellow, and then you go with it. You become part of a whole group that moves with that. And we may be tempted because something gets triggered there, but like you mentioned yesterday, you step back, you don't act. Meaning, again, you use the discrimination of the moral goodness And then you step back before reacting and you think about it. You think, you don't react. You go and analyze the situation. And when you internalize, when you actually introspective, you're able to, come to the right conclusions. In general, you have a greater opportunity. So this blind following, and then, people goes, you just take a loud one that start to, utter words indiscriminately, that they create a whole trouble for others. And then there it goes. A whole group just goes around this screaming person, and then they start to go for it. And then, at the end, everybody suffers. All the persons involved, they suffer. And, some may risk, then their all well-being for that whole delusion. So that's how it works. So the moral that I see on this whole, this particular, verses that we're reading is that it's wonderful. The devotees can do that. The advanced devotees, the Paramahansas, but we're not. We have to be cautious. We have to be cautious. The effects that words have in our consciousness, and we have to be very conscientious, not to be forced to react. We always be very, very attuned to what is the inner motivations that we have when we act. So meaning, if I've been forced of what the motivations have to do with my particular selfish, things. So if I have to do with, okay, I'm going to do this because, I like this person, or this person is my family, or this person is my close associate, and that's why I'm going to do something. Or I'm going to do something because I don't like this person, or I do something because I'm angry, or I'm frustrated, or all these type of things, and I'm forced to do something that is not going to be appropriate, that it breaks protocol, like you were saying yesterday, or is unethical. And then it's better to step back. Always better to step back. And that's the thing. For us, we have to be cautious. Words are powerful. Anything material, anything that we do in this world have a consequence. The only way we can be free from that consequence is when we're Krishna conscious. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences. So then we have to be conscious. If I'm not perfectly Krishna conscious, then I have to be conscious. I have to be cautious. So like that. All right. Thank you so much. Karantarashim and Bhagavatam ki jai.